Erin Burnett gives us a clear-cut evaluation of the Qanon Queen, Congresswoman from Georgia, who needs to be thrown out of Congress, especially now that everything is completely torn against them, and how the Republican Party has bent over to QAnon.
The party of QAnon. Tonight, the Republican Party is doubling down and giving credence to a group that is a megaphone for dangerous and deadly conspiracy theories. Most of the 211 of House Republicans are silent tonight over Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's past comments supporting the execution of prominent Democratic politicians. Instead, Greene, a QAnon supporter, has been given a seat on the Education and Labor Committee. And that should alarm everyone, all of us. For one, she tried to make a name for herself by suggesting the 2018 massacre at the high school in Parkland, Florida was a false flag. In other words, a planned event to kill kids. And then posted this video in March 2019, where she is seen confronting a survivor of that shooting, student David Hogg.
David, why are you supporting the red flag laws? If Scott Peterson, the resource officer at Parkland, had done his job, then Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have killed anybody in your high school, or at least protected them. Why are you supporting red flag gun laws that attack our Second Amendment rights? And why are you using kids as a barrier? Do you not know how to defend your stance? So I'm walking. He's got nothing to say. Sad. He has nothing to say because there really isn't anything to say, you guys. He has nothing to say because he's paid to do this. Guess what? I'm a gun owner. I'm an American citizen. And I have nothing, but this guy with his George Soros funding and his major liberal funding has got everything. I want you to think about that. That's where we are. And he's a coward. He can't say one word because he can't defend his stance.
So that was Marjorie Taylor Greene going after a teenager who lost 14 classmates in a horrific school shooting. Tonight, in an unapologetic statement to CNN, she says, I was going from office to office in the Senate to oppose the radical gun control agenda that David Hogg was pushing. Well, now Greene has been validated by the Republican Party, promoted by the Republican Party, placed on an education committee. And that's not all there is from Greene, by the way. I just want to be clear. If you're not familiar with her, you should be familiar, given how she's being promoted now, with her extensive track record in the land of conspiracy.
It's odd, there's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon.
There is an Islamic invasion into our government offices.
Never any evidence of a plane flying into the Pentagon. This person is now a sitting member of Congress with a position on the Education Committee, put there by Republican leadership. And then there's comments unearthed by our own K-File, comments like, quote, the stage is being set, players are being put in place, we must be patient. That comment responding to a comment about hanging former President Obama. And that comment actually forced the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy to respond. Well, I want to be clear, actually, it was his spokesperson who responded. The spokesperson says, quote, these comments are deeply disturbing and Leader McCarthy plans to have a conversation with the Congresswoman about them. Well, we don't know when that conversation is going to happen. Maybe McCarthy is putting it off until he's back from Florida because he's heading there tomorrow to meet with former President Trump. Perhaps he's still trying to make up to get back in Trump's good graces because, remember, he blamed Trump for the deadly insurrection and then backtracked and said that his comments had nothing to do with it. So while McCarthy's office calls Greene's comments deeply disturbing, the House Minority Leader is about to go and meet with a former president who, by the way, has not only embraced QAnon, but also Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, right here from Northwest Georgia. Oh, boy, I don't want to mess with her. No, she's great.
This one, I never, ever want to have her as my enemy. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Where is she? She is so unbelievable.
Also joining us tonight are Georgia representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene. I love Marjorie.
So Trump says he loves Marjorie. Then Trump and Greene are also in lockstep when it comes to the lie that Trump told the world, right? The lie that inspired his followers to attack the U.S. Capitol.
Make no mistake, this election was stolen from you, from me, and from the country. We won in a landslide. This was a landslide.
We aren't going to let this election be stolen by Joe Biden and the Democrats. President Trump won by a landslide.
The Republican Party right now is the party of Trump, and Trump's big lie about the election being stolen is a core tenet of QAnon. And for those Republicans who want to still hope that this is just going to go away, it isn't. QAnon is not going anywhere. It's coast to coast. In Arizona, the Republican Party voted Saturday to censor Cindy McCain and 2 other prominent Republican officials because they crossed Trump. In Oregon, the state Republican Party is buying into the conspiracy theory that the Capitol riot was a false flag. In this case, false flag meaning an attack that was engineered by Trump's opponents to make him look bad. And in Virginia, the leading Republican gubernatorial candidate, Amanda Chase, who calls herself Trump in heels, said the attack on the U.S. Capitol was justified and said this about the rioters.
The people I met were patriots who loved their country and drove from as far away as California to witness history, which they hope would be overturning of the election results.
This is the kind of thinking and talking that the Republican Party is embracing by its silence and by putting people who say the election was stolen on committees. And they're playing with fire. We all saw what happened at the Capitol. And now the Department of Homeland Security issuing a bulletin this week warning of more potential violence from domestic extremists who may be emboldened by that attack.